Welcome, SENS Talk.
Russell winds in, feeds it back across the track, and scores! Brady Tkachuk makes it 2-0. Giroux, in alone, scores!
Tim Stutzel across, Tkachuk score! The captain, Brady Tkachuk, buries it with 1:18 to go.
See you later. Go, SENS, go. Welcome to SENS Talk. My name is Brandon Plant, and I'm your host. Tonight, Ottawa took on the Buffalo Sabres as they look to win 3 straight games, while the Buffalo Sabres, who have clawed their way back sort of into the playoff conversation, are looking to get a massive 2 points against a team like Ottawa that, frankly, they should beat if they're serious about being back in the playoff conversation. Now look, the odds are looking pretty good for Buffalo going into this one, as they've won their last 9 out of 13 at home against Ottawa. So with that, let's get into it, because we have a lot to talk about in the first period of play, as just under 3 minutes in, it's Ottawa scoring first. It's the Snake, Jake Sanderson, dancing around the blue line, feeding Boris Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk's distant cousin, and Boris Tkachuk puts it on net, and Artem Zub jams home the rebound, and Ottawa strikes first. It's 1-0 Senators, and that would not be the end of the goals for your Ottawa Senators. Less than a couple minutes later, Boris Tkachuk, as I already said, Al Capitano's distant cousin, makes it 2-0 Ottawa with his first as an Ottawa Senator. Parker Kelly throws it on net. Boris Tkachuk tips it out front, and suddenly Ottawa, less than 5 minutes in, is off and running, as Boris Tkachuk with 2 points already in this one to make it 2-0 Ottawa, as the fourth line is dominating from the get-go. And that domination for that fourth line would continue throughout the game. But that domination for the Ottawa Senators as well would continue throughout that period, as less than 2 minutes later, the Drake, the best Drake in Canada, makes it 3-0 Ottawa. Drake Batherson, an unreal play here as he dipsy doodles past Luukkonen to make it 3-0 Ottawa. Less than 7 minutes in. Absolutely asinine right now, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot believe what I was seeing at this point in the game. That's 3 straight games with a goal as well for Drake Batherson, by the way. But my goodness, what? Who expected, especially like I already mentioned, Buffalo, 9 out of their last 13 games at home, they've beaten us. On top of the fact they're sort of back in that playoff race, who would have thought the Ottawa Senators, who have looked a little better as of late, which we have said many times, and then they've, come crashing down, they have exploded. And at this point, there's no doubt that the Buffalo faithful are absolutely stunned, and that's understandable. But frankly, I think Sens fans are way more stunned than Buffalo fans. Where were these Ottawa Senators in December? Why is it happening in late March when they're essentially out of the playoff race? Oh wait, these are the Ottawa Senators we're talking about, and once they're out of playoff contention, suddenly they start playing like cup contenders. This is what they do. But we'll take it. I love when they win, no matter what time of year it is and where they are in the standings. But I am just absolutely stunned. Once again, Buffalo needed a win today, and to come out of the gate like this, 3 straight goals at this point in the game. They would get a good opportunity, but Joonas Korpisalo, looking like prime Dominik Hasek, diving with the paddle stop, keeping it a 3-goal lead for Ottawa. And Ottawa would take advantage of that huge stop by Korpisalo, who looked fantastic today. In going into this game, won his last 4 out of 5. He's looked very, very good as of late. A big save there. Stops Buffalo from really stopping the bleeding. But unfortunately for Buffalo, no doctors were on standby. The bleeding would continue as just a couple minutes later. This is absolutely insane. What kind of period is this? Jacob Chychrun with a chick bomb. 4-0 Ottawa. Jacob Chychrun on a nice pass from Shane Pinto extends the lead to 4. That's 3 goals in his last 2 games for Jacob Chychrun. A nice pass here from Shane Pinto, which we'll be talking about in the post-game thoughts, believe me, on that. And by the way, Jacob Chychrun scored at 11-11, so it seemed like, frankly, a sign of good things to come for Ottawa in the rest of this game. 11-11, shout out Alfie as usual. But 3 goals in his last 2 games for Jacob Chychrun, who's really, obviously turned it around the last few games. He's had a rough stretch. The last few games, he's really turned it around, which is a great sign. He's a great hockey player, and I saw a lot of people saying he's a terrible hockey player, a bum-a-gundy, just an awful hockey player. It's ridiculous to even say that. Players are going to go through some rough stretches, particularly when they're playing, 23, 25 minutes on average a night when they have to make up for some injuries on the blue line, which is why he struggled. Now, don't get me wrong, Chychrun has absolutely struggled this year, but to write him off as a terrible player is also wrong. So it's great to see Chychrun shutting up the naysayers for one, but more so rounding back into form like we expect him to play. And things continue on here for Ottawa. But before we get to the next point, as I already mentioned, this was a historic first period for Ottawa. At this point, there's still plenty more to talk about in this first period. At this point, this was the most goals Ottawa has scored in a single period all year. Let's just say that would continue to be the case. We'll just leave it at that. We'll get to that in a minute, because I want to talk about Bowen Byram and his blindside interference hit on Angus Crookshank. Now, luckily, he would return. But it was a blindside hit. You just saw it on your screen. I mean, there's no reason for a hit like that. I'm not going to say that the guy should be suspended, but if the league takes a look at it and maybe fines him, I think that would be acceptable, because a play like this is so dangerous, especially with the way that Crookshank fell. It could seriously injure a player long term. So Bowen Byram needs to do far better than that. Just can't have that in the National Hockey League. Once again, I'm not saying he should be suspended, but if the National Hockey League reviews it, maybe suspends him for a game, but more likely than not fines him. I think that'd be appropriate measure, because once again, these blindside, frankly, headshots in vulnerable positions for these opposing players are hits that the NHL needs to get rid of. End of story. Now we continue on, because, well, that's the end of the story for that. The first period story is far from over, as with under a minute left in the first period of play, my goodness, this was an absolute crazy first period. I've never spent so much time talking about a first period, I think, in Sens Talk history. With under a minute left, Brady Tkachuk, Al Capitano makes it 5-0 Senators. Unreal passing by the Sens, passing along the boards, passing amongst one another, and it ends up on Brady Tkachuk's stick. He tips it out front past Devin Levi, who's now in net. They make it 5-0 Ottawa. Shane Pinto again with an assist. That's 3 straight goals Pinto has assisted on, as Ottawa goes into the first period of play up by 5 goals. It's 5-0 Senators. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't care where Ottawa's in the standings or Buffalo's in the standings. I don't care about any of that. If an NHL team scores 5 goals on you in a row in the first period of play, maybe you should just fold the franchise. That is absolutely insane. And understandably, Buffalo fans booed their team off the ice. I can understand it. I mean, you're in the playoff race, so to speak, and to give up 5 straight at home, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, especially to a team like Ottawa that is in the bottom half of the standings. Now, this is the first time in franchise history, by the way. Ottawa has scored 5 goals in the opening period, so a little bit of history tonight in Buffalo, which you love to see. But what you don't love to see is just under 3 minutes into the second period of play, the Sabres would break the shutout bid for Joonas Korpisalo, as JJ Peterka would score a goal on a big rebound off of Joonas Korpisalo's pad to bring the Sabres within 4 to make it a 5-1 game. That's a goal that Korpisalo probably wants back. It's a big rebound right into the slot. You just want your goaltender to probably control the rebound a little bit more there. So the Sabres cut the lead to 4. And then after that, the Sabres would really push in the second period. They dominated the second period. And it would result in another goal for them, as with under 7 minutes left in the second period of play, Connor Clifton would walk in. They had a couple of attackers coming in as well, so the Sens defenders drawed back, leaving Clifton a lot of space in the slot area. He makes no mistake about it to make it a 5-2 game after 40 minutes of play. A nice and smart play there from Clifton, frankly, to take advantage of that defensive miscue, so to speak, by Ottawa. But once again, at the end of the day, you need some back checking from the forwards there as well. So we go to the third period of play, and you know what? This is a classic Jacques Martin third period of play. They shut things down. Buffalo didn't really get anything going, and frankly, Ottawa didn't get much going either. It was a offensive null type of period after, especially that first period we saw. It's a crazy contrast, but that's what you expect from a team coached by Jacques Martin. They shut things down. They didn't really allow Buffalo to get really any good chance. Korpisalo wasn't forced to make any ridiculous stop really in that third period. He made a few, no doubt about it, but the second period is where the bulk of his saves were made. As in the third period of play, as I already mentioned, not much going on until about less than 5 minutes left. Shane Pinto puts it into the empty net, and this is insane because Shane Pinto, firstly, his first ever 4-point night in the National Hockey League, so congratulations to Pinner. But this is what is more insane, okay? Shane Pinto in only 30 games this year, because of course that ridiculous 41-game suspension for gambling, which is it's ridiculous. I bet many of you agree with that as well. He has 25 points in 30 games this year. That is insane. That is absolutely insane, and I really wonder what that contract's going to look like for Shane Pinto. I mean, this guy's going to get paid. He is going to get paid, and I hope Ottawa can somehow lock him up long-term. This is a guy that's just scratching the surface of his potential. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come for Shane Pinto. He's such a talented player at all aspects of the game, at both ends of the ice. A true 200-foot player, which is exactly what you want on your second line as a center. Shane Pinto is a complete package, and the offense is just a cherry on top. So this kid is so good, and he's a core part of the team for a reason. I really am excited to see what they do this offseason with him. Hopefully it's a long-term extension, because my goodness, this kid cannot go anywhere. This is a guy you got to build the team, not around, so to speak, but as one of those key pillars that built this foundation. Now with that, that's it. Ottawa up by 6-2 at this point, as the Sens win 6-2 over the Buffalo Sabres. Batherson and Chychrun, by the way, got an assist on the empty net goal as well. But my goodness, what a win for Ottawa. It was basically over after that first period of play, as they take down the Sabres 6-2, effectively killing the Sabre, playoff odds. I don't really think they have much of a chance now, as Joonas Korpisalo has won his last 5 out of 6 games. Always got to give a round of applause to the goaltending when they stand on their head. And yeah, that first goal was not great, but otherwise he was fantastic. .944 save percentage, 36 shots he faced, made 34 saves. So Joonas Korpisalo, yeah, one bad goal, I suppose, but you can't really ask for much more from your goaltending. Ottawa today overall had 18 blocked shots, and the bulk of those shots, 1/3 of those blocked shots, came from Jacob Bernard-Docker. He had 6 blocked shots today, 2 hits as well. Just absolutely insane how Jacob Bernard-Docker has turned around his game from more of a two-way guy with some offensive, potential, a good skater, into a rugged defensive guy who could block shots, play a physical game. That's exactly what Ottawa needs, especially for cheap on that third pairing. JBD is working his way into a permanent role with Ottawa in this defensive core, and well-deserved at that. He is an absolute warrior, 6 blocks, absolutely insane. Zub and Chychrun as well with 3 blocks each today. Chychrun with 5 shots on goal, of course, a goal and assist. Zub with a goal as well, and 3 shots. But, Ottawa's blue line today really played well. Speaking of the blue line, though, Tom Chabot would play pretty decent today, but he would not really play in that third period of play. We don't know what's going on, but he would play only a couple of shifts in that third period and then would not return. He actually would even leave the bench. So we don't exactly know what's going on with Shane Pinto at the moment, but at the same time, we play tomorrow, so we should find out rather quickly. It wouldn't shock me if he sat out tomorrow, to be honest with you. Now, as I already kind of alluded to, that fourth line today was absolutely fantastic. I want to give them the shout out that they deserve. Firstly, Boris Tkachuk, 2-point night, 1 goal and assist, hit as well, 2 shots on goal in just over 10 minutes of ice time. So not a lot of ice time, but when he was put on the ice, he made good use of it. Same could be said for Mark Kaslick tonight, who as well, just over 10 minutes of ice time with a hit, 3 shots on goal and 2 assists. A very solid game from Mark Kaslick, who's been looking far better as of late. And speaking of looking far better as of late, Parker Kelly has looked like a completely different player under Jacques Martin since the coaching change, and that showed tonight as well with an assist, 4 shots on goal, and just under 15 minutes of ice time. I like Parker Kelly's game tonight, but overall that fourth line was driving offense and was not getting caved in whatsoever. So it's great to see. It's a nice change of pace that Ottawa's fourth line is doing a very effective job at generating offense and not exactly giving up offense on their own end as well. So, overall, it's a fantastic night for Ottawa. Korpisalo, the fourth line. Tkachuk as well, of course, had a goal and an assist. So everyone was firing. Everyone was getting in on the offense. And you just absolutely love to see that. So, that means Ottawa's now won 3 straight games. And they've won those 3 straight by scoring 5+ in all 3 of those games in a row. So that's absolutely insane that Ottawa is just firing on all cylinders right now. They clearly know the economy's not so great. They want Sens fans to have some cheap pizza. We appreciate you. We do appreciate you. Now with that, let's get to my favorite part of these videos, the Tankathon spin. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into that first draw. Here we go. All right, so the team we're playing tomorrow, Chicago, wins first overall. That's not really much of an upset. I'm a little upset Ottawa falls to 8, but c'est la vie. That's how it goes. Second spin. All right. Chicago is certainly slacking for Macklin. Third spin. All right, that's back-to-back videos where the spin was not great for Ottawa, but I suppose our luck had the run out. So I'll take the wins on the ice instead of off the ice at this very moment. So besides that, thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you all tomorrow when Ottawa takes on Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. I'll see you all then. Go Sens go.